Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers! In today's video, we're looking at another very strange vehicle which I'm currently wobbling around in. This, which I'm currently driving, is called the Scrapyard Mono Wheel, which is this very odd thing over here. So this is a singular wheeled vehicle that serves absolutely no purpose at the end of the day. Is it useful in any way? No, it is not. Is it fast? No, it is not. Will it blow up very quickly if you don't have block destruction turned off? Yes, it will. But it is a lot of fun to drive, and it is very strange to drive. There's not really any way to describe just how this thing feels when you're moving it around, but you'll sort of see when I drive it around a bit later on. I highly recommend just downloading it and checking it out yourself. But yes, this is a singular wheeled vehicle that's made up of many different wheels to form one giant one. It's all held together with basically duct tape and a lot of praying to Lord Clang that it doesn't spontaneously explode. And, well, yes, we'll just come around to here for the moment, press F10, find it in spawn menu, we'll go through here, we'll then go have a quick look around the outside, have a quick look through the middle so you can see how it's all connected up, and then we'll go and drive it around for a bit, and you'll see just how odd this thing actually is. So the Scrapyard Mono Wheel is 711 small blocks, using the Wasteland and Automatons DLC packs. We see here one crucial bit of information, where it states that you will need to remove all the green blocks in order to actually have this function. So if you were to spawn this in, if I was to do it right now, I'll just go and grab hold of my character, hop out of this, back into here, and I just go and copy and paste that one more time. You can see there's green blocks on the front there. All you got to do is just remove them, and then you're good to go. Yes, back into here one final time, giving this thing a thumbs up. We'll move around towards the very front. Have a quick look around the outside, and like I said, we'll go drive this around, and hopefully I'll be in the right camera. Here we are. So at the very front for the Scrapyard Mono Wheel, this is what we get. And that's one hell of a lot of wheels and one hell of a lot of hinges that will make its very odd driving setup. To the left and right of them, we can see a bunch of warfare spotlights to light up the darkness, and they've been attached onto a bunch of artificial mass to well help this thing out while it drives around. If we were to move around onto the side, there we are, that's all we can see from this side section, so we'll need to put the camera all the way through into here, where past our artificial mass, there we go, we've got another steel block, but into this section we see our gyroscope, into this part we'll see even more gyroscopes, which are very much needed to keep this thing from tilting over, because it doesn't actually drive like a proper vehicle. You'll need to use Q and E to actually tilt it to make sure it doesn't actually fall over while driving. Anyway, coming over to this section, in fact we'll come over to here first of all, we see how it's been connected up to the back via two hinges. That then comes across onto even more hinges. That'll eventually come across some steel blocks, onto a shallow cockpit. We've got two wheels at the back there, just to absorb any kind of lumps and bumps, just in case you do bounce it to the ground. And that will happen quite a lot if you're not careful. Anyway, at the very back of this little seat, we've got a bunch more warfare spotlights, this time acting as your brake lights. Then for the back of the main wheel is basically the same as the very front, but without the artificial mass and without the spotlights. If you were to move all the way up and look down, nothing too much to talk about here. Then if we were to come all the way down underneath it, again, there's not going to be too much to talk about till we put the camera all the way through. So up we come past these steel blocks, into here. What we're going to find is a bunch of much larger wheels, which is how this whole thing is going to be spinning around. These wheels are attached onto their proper suspensions, which are being clipped inside a bunch of other blocks. In here we see batteries to power this, all the way up to here, there's your suspensions. Into here we can see another battery, and it has got very dark in here. Look how dark it is in here. Anyway, moving away from here, moving slightly up, more steel blocks, more suspensions, and some steel blocks. And that's about it, the inside. Just a massive hodgepodge of hinges, wheels, and steel blocks. Now what I'm going to do is just grab hold of my character, because that's it, the outside, and now I need to take over it. So once we're inside here, we've got one singular control, where we press that, then we take remote control over the wheels. We have two other additional controls, but we're not going to touch them. We do not want to touch them whatsoever, it's perfectly fine how it is. So we're simply going to press P, and now we're ready to drive this thing around. So the way this works is we're going to need to use our mouse to lift this all the way up, make sure we don't damage the cockpit as we're driving this thing around. Then we're to move forwards. Here we go. So you will need to keep adjusting this with your mouse, you will need to keep using Q and E to make sure it doesn't tip over. And this is simply what it looks like. In first person view it's even more worse, we're going to be bouncing around here like it's a carnival ride. And as you go over more bumpier surface, more well sickening this is going to get. Be able to move the camera all the way around so we get a closer look at what's going on with those wheels, if I can. Might be a bit difficult to do. That's how the wheels are moving around. And that's why the wheels are up back there, because we need to just bump to the ground. Yes, that's basically all this thing does. It's a very novel thing. And I suppose I probably should tell you how to turn this thing around. Because if we were to use A and D, nothing is going to happen because it's not a traditional vehicle. We will need to use our mouse, and then of course, once again, Q and E. So turning this to the left, here we go, we'll need to counterbalance this by pressing E. And this is it, turning around. Oh, I went a bit too far there. Now I need to counterbalance it with Q. And just moving around like so, so you can see it in third person view. There we are. It's a very, very odd thing to drive around. Now this is all with block destruction turned off, so as you can see on this perfectly flat surface, is all a-okay, and definitely won't blow up, but it certainly is when I alter the settings. So coming to a stop by pressing P, here we go. Now time to come into here and find our wheels. So in this, typing in wheels, what we're going to find is a bunch of settings in here. We're going to, well, basically, put the power all the way up, which it already is, put the strength all the way up, putting the friction all the way up, and removing the speed limit. And now we're going to watch it crumple into little pieces as I undo the parking brake and move this thing forward. Here we go, this is now even worse. Look at those wheels. They are getting very, very scary as we were to drive this thing around. But as you can see, we're not actually going too much faster. It will speed up as we go downhill, but due to the way it's being created, it basically has an artificial speed limit where, well, we're not going to go too fast. It's only going to be, well, as we go over slight lumps and bumps, where the caterpillar tracks, or the little section that goes all around the outside, are now going to self-destruct, and now all we're left with is a bunch of very jittery wheels. There we go with that. First what I'll do now is just come into here, spawn this one in, just going to drop it in from the surface, and we can remove these blocks to show you how you disconnect it. So we come over to this part, delete that, come over to this part, delete that, now it'll fall onto the ground, good to go. But what I am going to do before I end this video, because it is very short and sweet, and what I just want to do, because it was a very odd design, is now we're going to come across to some lumpy forest lands, or lumpy grasslands even, and we'll see how this thing handles. I think the perfect place to be will be into maybe this section right here will do quite nicely. Yes, it will. And here we are. I've now spawned it in. We're ready to go. This is all with the default settings. Now we're going to go across this slightly lumpier surface so you can see how it handles. As I was saying, there's not too much else to talk about. It does get a little bit wonky occasionally where you do have to fight it quite a bit with your mouse. Yes, as I was saying, it's just a lovely little vehicle. Very odd design. A lot of work has gone into this to actually make it work, not blow up. Like I said before, this does have block destruction turned on in the world settings. And yes, as I said at the very start, it's not too practical at the end of the day. You're not going to be using it in survival mode, but if you drive around for a bit of fun, it definitely is a little bit of fun. Yes, to end this video, what we're going to do is now charge down this slight hill. We're going to come across to this little cliff edge right here, or a tiny little mound even. We can see what kind of damage we can do if we do a slight jump. So back in the third person view, what I'm going to do is hide for now. And this is it, just charging along towards its doom. So raising this thing all the way up. In fact, you can go all the way around if you want to a 180. But here we are. Where is this part? Down this very lumpy, rocky section. And as you can see, it's doing very well. But it does get very nauseating as we go over slight lumps and bumps. Back in the third person view, that's what it's like. As you can see, we went down that hill very well. And nothing got damaged compared to a traditional vehicle that usually takes quite a bit of block damage. As for that, there's not too much else to talk about. It's just a lovely little design to use in your world if you do want to use it in your world. There'll be a link to it in the description below if you wish to download and play around it yourself. Highly recommend you do. I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.